All right, I've got a esoteric philosophical ramble for you today. I woke up thinking about the sun, and especially the word for the sun in Latin and also Spanish, for example, is el sol. And just reflecting on the word soul in English, the spiritual soul, and that meaning. And so this reflection on comparing the sun and the soul. And going further into thinking, the sun is the source of life for all things. It's almost like the central soul, right? The soul from which all other souls are derived. And it's a solar system, right? From a scientific point of view and mainstream point of view, is we live in a solar system, everything revolves around the sun, as well as an astrological point of view. All the planets revolve around the sun, get their light from the sun, reflect the sun's light. And so we live in a solar system. But at the same time, we can take this literally, which, many cultures in the past believed that the sun was this central soul, that the sun was the source of all life in a very spiritual sense as well as a literal sense. And in astrology, when you look at your birth chart, the sun is the focal point of everybody's birth chart. The sun represents you, who you are, your soul, your persona, So the sun is very central as individuals, but then we have the actual literal sun giving us light, giving us sustenance and vitality, and even the nature of our own vitality, the life force that is going through us physically. Like, you can measure the human auric field, and right, the heart, many people I've heard say is kind of electric in the way it works. It's just like, it's not necessarily a pump. It's like there's this vital force going through the human body. We have the chakra system. And what is this life force? What does it consist of? Is it any different from the light that's coming out of the sun? I mean, it's not really a material thing. It's not a physical thing. Light isn't really a physical thing. Neither is the spirit, neither is the soul. So what if the sun is a soul? What if it is the central soul? And what if we, as human beings, as I've talked about on this channel, light beings, hue is in color, beings of light, what if we are just parts of the sun? What if we are just, decentralized suns? That's the central sun, and we are the sun incarnated into the world as individuals, right? Children of the sun. So this was what I was thinking this morning. We live in a solar system, or we live in a system of souls, a system that revolves around souls, and the central soul of our entire creation, this entire reality construct. There's other esoteric work that I've come across that reflects some of these ideas. The raw material, it's like channeled material, definitely describes reality in this way, that they're like each kind of solar system has its own central sun that kind of emanates life and souls literally from that sun or that central soul into its creation. So maybe there are other universes with other suns, other worlds with other suns, and then each of those suns is a derivative of like an even more central sun, perhaps. But as far as we know, as far as we can tell from our human perspective here, this is the only sun we really know. We can look to what science tells us and official dogmas, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the only sun that I'm aware of that is in my reality. And this is the only world I know of from my experience as a human here. So within this system, within this solar system is what we're talking about. And that's, of course, what astrology has to do with. This solar system is what the planets that astrology refers to deals with. So maybe let me flesh out some of this concept a bit further. Like okay, let's say this is true. Let's say we're literally in a system of souls. We're in a soul system revolving around a central sun. So the sun being like the Son of God, and each human soul being an incarnation of that central soul, but in a limited incarnated form. So how does that work? Well, astrologically, that's how the planets come in, right? The planets, each of them has like a filtering effect on the sun's pure form. So the sun is kind of just pure light. And if you think of like the cover of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, I probably referenced that album cover before. It's a prism, right? And there's white light shining through the prism, and then you get the color spectrum of the rainbow coming through the prism. And that's that's kind of how the planets relate to the sun. The sun is the pure light. The planets are these various filtered versions of that light. Colors. So we get Mars and Venus and Saturn, Jupiter and Mercury, and the whole, lot of them. And they arrange in the sky in various configurations, which we study in astrology. And based on these limitless ways that they can arrange, the light-based circuitry through which the sun expresses or incarnates into the world fluctuates. So think when you were born, your birth chart depicts a snapshot of the sky at that place, time, location, all that. And it's a snapshot of the sky and what that arrangement was of the planets at that very instance. And you could almost think that that's a circuit board. It's like your energetic makeup, in which the light of the sun, the essence, the vital force, is filtered through the relational energetic dynamics of these different qualities. Just like each of your chakras has a different quality to it, the way the energy expresses. The planets are correlated to the chakras in the way I study astrology. And unique individual expression is made possible through this. Essentially, we end up with our own unique soul circuitry, in which the pure light of the sun must integrate these different expressions through our uniqueness, right? Through our unique expression. And it's our work, you call it karmic work, in this solar system that we're in, the system of souls. Like the real, you could say the real work that makes the system go around is our work of integration, this karmic work of integrating these different energetic qualities within us, which are represented through the way the planets express in our birth chart and how they kind of work harmoniously with each other, or where they are at odds with each other, that we need to learn how to integrate in our lives. And of course, the sun in all of us, we all have the sun in our chart, is the hero of the story. And through the integration process of working with the other planets, we can learn to actually allow our sun to shine through. And the more an individual is able to evolve and raise their consciousness and integrate their energetic qualities within them that we all share, but we share them in different arrangements, the more one is able to allow their sun to shine forth, the more recognizable you become to other humans. Because at the end of the day, we all come from the same source. We come from the same central sun. And when you let your sun shine forth, the suns in other people can recognize that. At the same time, people who are not able to let their suns shine forth because there's too much energetic blockage and constriction going on at their current stage, they can become a little uncomfortable about seeing the sun shine forth. They might hide themselves in their house and avoid the sun, right? Because that process of karmic work is somewhat daunting and threatening to those who are just not on that level, so to speak. But that is the goal. That is the hero's journey, to do that integrative work. So this is what I was thinking this morning. We're in a solar system, and it kind of does bridge on some of these Gnostic ideas that a lot of people have been discussing, at least in esoteric circles. Recently, Gnosticism has reached a higher level of popularity and consideration, where there's this realization that on this karmic level, on the spiritual level, we are energizing the system. Some people say it's a soul farm, right? We're being taxed, we're being worked, and we are, through our karmic work, actually energizing this system. Now, the Gnostics often have kind of a negative take on this. They'll say that, we shouldn't have to do this. But that's not kind of where I'm coming from. That's not the way I see it. We're just in this system. We're all in this together. We're from the same source. We're from the sun. We're children of the sun. We're all siblings in that sense. We're all one in that sense. And yet, astrology has the beautiful language to show how we're all individuals and unique. And yeah, we have work to do. We have work to do in order to maintain our individuality, to individuate through expressing our unique expression, which is, again, shown in the blueprint of our birth chart. And at the same time, shine our sun forth into the world as a unique expression of the one sun that is all-pervading at the same time. It's like this harmony between the individual and the unity. And that's really what the purpose of life is in this context. Now we can go further. I might have talked about this again in other videos, I don't quite remember. But the way the signs work are essentially, they also are based on the sun. They revolve around the sun, coming from a tropical Western astrological point of view, which I believe is the correct or most accurate point of view. It's another video talking about different systems, which all have, some merit, because astrology has a lot of ancient truth to it in all its forms. But the way the signs operate, from the perspective I'm speaking from, are based on the sun, and they're based on the sun's ecliptic around the sky yearly, from solstice to solstice, equinox to equinox. And I don't know if I want to get into this part of the conversation. I don't want to get more into the weeds than necessary in this one video. I could ramble. It's always helpful if I'm teaching a class or people have certain questions. So ask in the comments if you want to know more about the signs and how all the details work. Mostly I just wanted to expound upon this notion of being in a soul system. And that's what this reality construct that we're experiencing is. We all come from the sun. We are all manifestations, like in a fractal sense, of the sun, of the one all-pervading Son of God. Okay, maybe this is where I'll go. I'm not quite done. I'm even using that term, Son of God, has a theological connotation. Not just Christianity. They're, going into Egyptian religions, like Ra was the son of God, and all sorts of other traditions where there is a sun god figure who incarnates in the world. and this is popular. And I don't think, a lot of times, especially, maybe the Catholic Church or people from a Christian background and belief system will say that this type of thing that I'm saying, where the sun is literally the central soul, and that the Son of God is literally the sun, and that the sun is incarnating its soul into individual humans who are just like mini suns, mini soul, mini gods, for lack of a better term. And this would be maybe considered like a pagan belief system, or one that's not compatible with the general teachings of Christianity, for example. And that's a whole topic and a whole debate, but personally, I don't think that there is a mutually exclusive relationship between these perspectives. I think it's perfectly reasonable, and I think it's also a very inspirational and registers as true for the possibility of the sun in like a perfected state to incarnate as a human being, to just incarnate as the Son of God in just a perfected state where it's got no blemishes in its expression. Not to say that all of us normal humans are blemished in our expression, but we are not in our perfected states, right? We have karmic work to do. But there's no reason why God himself couldn't incarnate into human form. The Son himself couldn't incarnate into human form. And, that guy that was around 2,000 years ago, or who knows, however long, based on what history we want to look at, sounds about right. Everything I've heard sounds about right. The truth resonates. So I don't think there's a conflict, what I'm saying here. But, of course, there's an expanded sense of the importance of nature and thinking about the solar system as being not at odds with the spiritual solar system, right? That God, maybe this is where God is part of his creation. Beyond creation as well, but also part of it. And that the physical and the spiritual, they go right together. And that's something that adds a lot of clarity, and that astrology offers a lot of clarity and an ability to communicate these very ineffable topics. So that's why, to close here, I find astrology to be incredibly valuable in personal growth and aiding us to accomplish our karmic work in this world, in this solar system, that we are all powering together and improving together, ideally. And so I offer life coaching to help people navigate their own charts and understand their own charts so that they can get clarity on their own path and how they can best go about integrating themselves spiritually, energetically, psychically, all of those things. And just also be somebody who, if you resonate with me, who needs somebody who has an outside perspective from their lives to just bounce things off of, and to listen and to support and to encourage, and to also not think you're crazy. Like, if you've watched this video long enough, probably a bit of an outsider. And if you've had the experience in my early 20s, I tried going to a therapist, and the first one I went to was definitely very just mainstream. I couldn't say something like, yeah, what if the sun is literally God, right? Like that. They would not, they'd probably give me pills for something, so if you're in that kind of boat and need somebody who's not going to judge you and who can understand where you're coming from, I offer that kind of life coaching, and we can get into esoteric things, we can get into astrology, again, which is arguably the most powerful, symbolic, psycho-spiritual tool that's ever existed. I know quite a bit about that, so I can help you learn about that and get insight. And I also have a free guide that I made, PDF guide on just how to learn how to read your own chart, if you'd like. You can find all the links to working with me, the free guide, all that stuff in my link tree, in the channel description. And yeah, I'll get into more stuff in the next videos coming up, so we'll catch you there. Many blessings. Peace.